Okay, so for this worksheet, we're going to be finding the sides of angles and triangles. So for number 1, it says find the missing side, round to the nearest 10th. Okay, so I'm going to label this hypotenuse. That's the opposite of the hypotenuse, and this is the adjacent. We know the adjacent, we're looking for the hypotenuse, so we'll use the trig function cosine. So cosine equals adjacent over hypotenuse. Okay, by the cosine I will put degrees, which is 58, and the adjacent is 19, and the hypotenuse is x. Now the next step is going to be to multiply both sides by 19. On the right side it cancels out, but on the left side it's going to be 19 times cosine of 58. Okay, I'm going to plug that into the calculator. So 19 times cosine of 58, you're going to want to make sure your calculator is in degrees under the mode. So, and it says round it to the nearest tenth, so equals 10.1, so x equals 10.1 for number 1. Okay, so for number 2, once again we're finding the hypotenuse, but this time the angle's on the opposite side, so we're going to be using sine of sine of x, I guess, equals opposite over hypotenuse. Okay, now for this one we know the opposite. Sine is 35 degrees. So for this one we know the opposite, it's 13, but we don't know the hypotenuse. Hypotenuse is x. So we'll multiply both sides by 13. This side cancels out, so 13 times sine of 35 equals, let's plug this into the calculator, 13 times sine of 35 equals 7.45, and we'll just round that to 7.5 since that's the nearest end. So x equals 7.5 for number 2. Okay, so for number 3, we'll be doing the same thing once again. On this one, we have the opposite and the adjacent, and we don't have the hypotenuse. So for this, we have the opposite of the adjacent, which would be tan of a, it's a tangent function, and that equals opposite over adjacent. So tan of 46 equals opposite is x over 20. So multiply both sides by 20. Cancels out on this side, so plug it into the calculator over here. So 20 times tan of 46 equals 20.7. Okay, so x equals 20.7 for number 3. Okay, so for number 4 it says find the measure of the indicated angle to the nearest degree. So for this we have the adjacent, the opposite, and the hypotenuse. But for this we have we're going to be finding the opposite of this angle, so it'd be opposite. So we're going to be using the sine function, which is sine equals opposite over hypotenuse. Okay, and the opposite over the hypotenuse, we have 19 over 46. Okay, let's plug that into the calculator. 19 divided by 46 equals 19 divided by 46.413. I don't